Hello everyone, it's DuckFaden07. Today I'm playing my updated Blue Zoo list, and this deck is like really strong in the metagame right now. So got the trophy in the first try with the updated list. Okay, so initially I brewed this list, a similar list like a month and a half ago. Had 3 Force of Negations, 3 Subtleties, I had Stubborn Denials in. And in the meantime, I got my classic zoo lists with free spells on the sideboard, and I had Preordains in the main, and I really liked Preordains. Preordains were really good, helping you to get to the Scion. And okay, so now after that I had a Stoneblade build where I played a Counterspell in the main, and I really liked the Counterspell. And when I saw someone post update, they got good result with the Blue Zoo in addition to playing a Counterspell. And Murktide, I really didn't like Murktide. I think Murktide it's not the way to go in this Blue Zoo builds. The spell count is really too low. There are no enablers like DRC that can help you get a bigger Murktide into play. Also, like a lot of these spells are like 2-3 mana, like Iteration, Counterspell, Force of Negation, which are really slow to put them in the graveyard. You really want to have spells like Consider, Preordain, Lightning Bolts, stuff like that, but the curve is just not that good in my opinion to go with Murktide. I really don't like it, and I prefer going with a Subtlety in the creature slot. And I decided also, in difference to my last initial list, I decided to add 2 expressive iterations. In the meantime, metagame changed towards more grindy meta since the Violent Outburst ban. So I added 2 expressive iterations. They're okay when you're playing the mirrors, help you find the Scion. Dig for these free spells that can help you protect the combo or your Kavu or whatever. So I don't like how threat light are these new Blue Zoo builds. People are just ditching creatures to play more iterations, more counterspells, more card draw, whatever. I don't think it's a way to go for the Blue Zoo builds. You can't just expect to have Scion or multiple Kavus every game. You need some threats, and we have Subtlety here, we have Ragavan, I have 2 wild split between 2 Brawlers and 2 Wild Nacatls in this build as my threat options for this one, and that is it. On the sideboard I got Endurances, I got Charmouse, I got Subtleties, more creatures that can add to the creature count post board when you're doing the sideboarding. And thanks to additions of Wild Nacatl's Brawlers, I have enough of the green cards in the main to include cards on the graveyard like Force of Figure and Endurance, which are both like very strong options. I think this is my final sideboard. I will do the sideboard guide next week, starting from Monday. Doing the sideboard guides for Scam Zoo, Blue Zoo and regular zoo lists will be available on my dictionary profile. You can see that down below in the video description of my every video. There will be a link to dictionary and 3 tier subs in there. Tier 2 will be for classic zoo guide, tier 3 for Blue Zoo and Scam Zoo, and in the future, once I release more sideboard guides, I will remove some of the old ones to tier 2 sub, and that is it. Okay, so if you want to support the content, you can do it there. Tier 1 is like a basic support, and with tier 2 starting from April you will get access to the content, additional content I will do in addition to YouTube, like some writing of state of metagame and the sideboard guides occasionally for the more popular decks from my channel that I decide to go with, and that is it. Okay, so that is it. Basically, I decided to do a split between Bolt and Prismatic Ending in my build. Bolt is I cut 2 bolts from most of my zoo lists lately, and Lightning Bolt, starting from the Rhino metagame, was the most underwhelming card in the main, and the card I was cutting first when needing space, and I think it's still pretty mediocre. Yawgmoth, Amulet, Gorios, it just doesn't do much in all these popular matchups, and having Prismatic Ending to destroy Exile Amulet or Expedition Map or Territorial Kavu. This Zoo is now tier 1 deck, and the most represented deck, slowly becoming most represented deck in the metagame, and also having more and more relevant targets. I think I like the split between Ending and Bolt the most. Also, like when lists like this are trimming on Treble Flames, this is another reason to trim on Bolts too, because deck loses that burn potential, burn power it has to just finish the game sometimes, just solo with the burn spells and a few damage from the creatures and of course opponent's mana base. And that's it. I really like starting from the Bloodbraid Marauder builds. I really liked how good Counterspell has felt in the domain, and that is the reason why I changed my initial list. I decided to go with the Counterspell. I did, I think, what is the most optimal mana base for the Counterspell iteration Territorial Kavu build. It's very hard to support these 3 cards in the same deck, and but I think this mana base does it well, and I'm really happy with how it plays out. And okay, that's it. Also, having access to these green cards on the sideboard is very powerful at the moment, and I think my sideboard is done here. Okay, so Tron is usually a good matchup, but these new lists are kind of threat lighter than they were in the past, so I think having 2 Charmas on the sideboard is good, because Tron seems to be very present right now in the MTGO metagame, at least. So yeah, I'm doing this for now, definitely, and I think it will serve its purpose, and it did me well in this. I played against Tron, and it really definitely helped me win a match there, so I'm happy with it. And let's go check out the gameplay. Okay, just 2 iterations. I don't really like iterations that much in zoo builds, but this one is trying to sometimes just play a little slower, sometimes hold mana because of the counterspell, and I think iterations work slightly better in this list than in the usual zoo lists. And as I also said, a lot of metagame switching towards kind of a grindier meta, and they help you find those Scions you need to combo with Leyline, help you seal the game and win. Okay, in this situation, I got my second land down. I had the counterspell. Opponent didn't have Ragavan, and also they decide to not trade with Ragavan, which was great news for me. Okay, I played their iteration, definitely wanted to play this. I find a Scion of Draco, which is a great find. I had it on top, but yeah, it was good news. And here, I'm not sure why opponent didn't trade with Channeler, but yeah, that was good for me. And here I was able to attack with Ragavan, connect again, make another treasure, and now I can play the Preordain, still hold mana for Counterspell. I decided to just pay the mana for Pierce, let this resolve, and I find the Force of Negation so I can still protect my stuff if needed. Opponent only has 1 card in hand. I can just free block the Channeler here, and I do have Force of Negation to protect myself if needed. And here I shock in. I don't know why did I shock in. It was really unnecessary. I guess I thought I have like a treasure token or something, but yeah, it was completely unnecessary. And I go for the counterspell to have a lethal for the next turn. and I have Force of Negation for their counter, so that is the game. And I win the game 1. So GDS was actually in the past one of the hardest, worst matchup for domain zoo decks. But yeah, with since it's the Grixis is not that good in the meta right now, and of course Zoo got the big update in Leyline. It's now like pretty favored for Zoo actually, for not just for this build, but I would say most of them. Okay, so here I boarded in temporary lockdowns. As you can see, I really like lockdowns when I'm playing second, not that much when I'm playing first. So I boarded in when playing second, and yeah, so here it was a bit risky, but I decided to take the risk, and I really didn't expect my opponent to play the Zagoth Charm. Zagoth Charm was a funny card here to do lethal with, but it served the purpose. They dealt 2 damage to themselves, and yeah, the shadows were lethal. My blocker's phase already passed. I was not able to block with endurance, and that's what they got a game there. Okay, so let's check out the game 3. In a game 3, I actually put my lockdowns back in my sideboard. Removed Force of Negations, and just bring in endurances. Okay, so here very good start. I have Ragavan, I have Leyline, I have Kavu, Counterspell. This is just pretty much insane hand. Often you get hands like this, and they feel just unbeatable. Okay, so here I got also top decked a Scion of Draco, which is basically at this point overkill. My hand was already just extremely strong, and the Scion was just too much. Okay, opponent goes for Tutsis here. They're already on 13. I go for Ragavan dash, and opponent concedes. Yeah, opponent concedes. I have like 6 damage here. Playing Kavu, so many ways to kill them next turn, there's just no chance for them to get out of this, and that is match 1. Let's check out match 2. Okay, so match 2, no Leyland this time, but this is very good hand. Of course, there is a possibility of going for Triome and playing Scion on turn 2, but there's no need to do it because I have like a turn 1 play, I have a turn 2 play, and then turn 3 Scion is just pretty good. Okay, my opponent had the nuts here. They have removal for Ragavan, then they had turn 2 Tainted Indulgence into Gorios, and yeah, I just play my creature and die. And next turn, opponent had the Indulgence, get the Atraxa, ephemerate the Atraxa, and that is basically game over. So let's check out game 2. Okay, so for this matchup, in the sideboard, I have endurances, 2 endurances and 2 stubborn denials. Trimming on Bolt and Prismatic Endings. They are like, Prismatic Ending is definitely not good in this matchup, but Bolt is not great too. So yeah, I had the option to save these 2 spells in my hand. This would prevent my opponent from doing the Grief Scam. I would be able to either counter the Ephemerate or binding the Grief, but I decided to let them do the scam if they can, and just do the Surveil on turn 1. My hand was not very good, but opponent didn't have much except for the Grief Scam. That often how it works out. When they have a Grief Scam, they usually don't have much else. Okay, here I find the Preordain. Preordain is such a good card. I was able to, in this deck, it helps you find the really relevant spells you need to take over the game. So here I find initially Scion to pressure my opponent. start dealing damage until they try to find something. No good draws for me this game. Opponent discarded Denial and Binding, and everything else I got except this Scion were just mediocre. I think I should have probably... Yeah, I didn't check my mana. I forgot that I can't find a breeding pool, so I was not able to play Brawler together with the Kavu this turn. So I should probably just play the Kavu and keep the Force of Negation in my hand. I think that was a better play. But it is what it is. Opponent, I deal 4 there with Scion, play the Brawler, so next turn I have 2 lethal attackers. And my opponent needs to have like Solitude, but they don't have it, and that is the game here. Let's check out game 3. Okay, so this time I have Endurance. I'm hoping to get... I'm playing second, so there is a chance to get the third land I need. So in this situation, when you have basic island, the way you can take your game is go for... to get full domain is go Blood Crypt, Temple Garden, and then basic island for full domain if you need something like to save... to save your life total, but in this situation I really wanted to be able to hardcast Force of Negation next turn, so I decided to go for the breeding pool instead. This also allows me to play Kavu and allows me to hardcast a Force of Negation. I'm also just hoping to discard some of the spells from my hand to draw either green spell or blue spell, so I can pitch cast one of my spells like Endurance or Force of Negation if needed. Yeah, here I go for another green and blue source, and my opponent is stuck on 1 mana. I'm not sure why they would keep 1 lander. They didn't have... they only had a survey land, so it was pretty bad keep for the opponent. I was able to like just draw this card with the Kavu and hold like Endurance plus Force of Negation plus Counterspell. That is pretty hard for opponent to do much here. Okay, I find a Temple Garden here, so I holding both a Force of Negation and Endurance. Basically impossible for my opponent to do anything here. And I also got a second Kavu down, so attacking with both Kavus, again discarding extra land from my hand. I have Force of Negation and Endurance. It is my opponent just unless they have something like a Solitude, a Blink, and or double Blink, something like that, it's not going to work for them, and they try to go for the Gorios. Actually they find a Grizzle with a survey land, but that wasn't enough, and that was easy win. Okay, so let's check out match 3. Okay, so in the match 3, okay, what is going on? Okay, so in the match 3, I had double Scion of Draco, no Leyline this time, but yeah, that is okay. You can have Leyline every time, and this is pretty good hand. Its opponent was playing Tron, but they were first, but they did mulligan hard. So not fastest hand here. Turn 2 Scion of Draco could be like not good enough. Opponent finds Urza Saga with steerings. They do have expedition map there, so I have option to just go Preordain, binding their expedition map this turn, but I really want to start pressuring my opponent as soon as possible, so I go for turn 2 Nishoba Brawler. Nishoba Brawler means more damage, so I just go for it. play my Kavu here. Opponent now has Tron, and I decide to go for the Preordain here, and I find a second binding. Binding can be useful against them, against their rings, carns and snaring bridges, or whatever. So I decide to keep a second binding on top. I don't need a third one, so I decide to ditch one, go for double Scion of Draco. So if they don't have, they need to have that destroy everything. They didn't they didn't draw it, and that was like easy game 1 against Tron, where they mulliganed for Tron, but they didn't find the payoffs. And case we will see post board. I have 2 Obsidian Charmhouse. I did remove all the ley lines and the bolts to bring in additional stubborn denials, subtleties, and the Charmhouse. Pretty good sideboard against them. Okay, so here opponent goes for Sylvan Scrying, and I just play another Nacatl. Nacatls are pretty aggressive in this matchup, get down the life total down very easily. And opponent goes for Steerings. They have a Tron for the next turn, but I can now hardcast Charmau, kill one of their Tron lands, slow them down really a lot by a whole turn, and this gets me enough time to try to do something. And opponent concedes immediately. I didn't have a lethal this turn, but I was very close to it. Possibly could find Ragavan and for the lethal immediately. So that was a game opponent concedes. Let's check out match 4. Okay, so in the match 4, starting with Leyline, one of these like really strong hands. There's not much decks that can beat a hand like this, especially when you're playing first. Here I was playing second, so opponent has time to use a bunch of their removal and discard. This was new mono black grief scam ring list. And I was able to they discarded both Kavu and Scion from my hand, but they got the damage from the Totsis, and I got 2 Nacatls down, doing a lot of pressuring, and also find the Brawler. Okay, so here opponent goes for the grief, takes my Subtlety, and now they can trade with Brawler. I do and just jump the Nacatl. I still would get the 3 damage trample with a Brawler, but I find a binding here to go with trample over them, and opponent plays the One Ring. One Ring is not that good right now. They are really low on life. They need Sheldred, and I got both Force of Negation and Subtlety in my hand to prevent them from whatever, and they don't find Sheldred or what they were looking for, and this was a very easy game 1. Okay, let's check out game 2. Okay, so in game 2, I removed my Prismatic Endings, and that's basically it. I removed 2 Prismatic Endings to bring in 2 Subtleties from the side. That was my only change here. They're playing a Grief Scam. They're playing a lot of creatures, Sheldred, Doughty, and I also have like Force of Negation. So that is a lot of cards that can fight against Grief Scam, which is probably their best play. Opponent goes also, it works against Lily of the Veil, of course. Okay, so here I take their Grief, kill their Lily, and pass the turn. I can go for Survey Land here. Opponent finds Sheldred, which is best card in their deck against me, but I find a Scion. I find Scion on top with my Survey Land, and now my Brawler has lifelink, so I can get this life lost I'm getting from Sheldred. I can get it back with the Scion attacks, and also got Ragavan here to chip extra damage and gain some extra life, which was pretty good. Okay, so here opponent goes for Demolition Field. I do have one basic in the main, one in the side. I did not use one from the side. Can maybe be useful to bring in the second basic if they're playing too much of these field effects. Okay, so my opponent is on 10 now, drawing more lands, but that is fine, because it's really hard for them for my opponent to deal with this board. They only have like, I mean, they have Shielded Edicts and they have Lilies, but they have to draw that. And now they stay back with Sheldred because I have lethal if they attack, and now I have double Scion plus Ragavan, so now their edicts and lilies don't work, so that is game over. Another easy win against mono black. Okay, so and yeah, the mono black is among better decks to play against domain, but I got the wins so easy anyway. Okay, so here in the match, in the final match for the trophy, I played against the Brew from my channel, yesterday's Brew, John Creativity. I think this deck is really strong, really hard to play against it, and the usual 4-5 color Creativity is the easiest matchup for Zoo, and I don't think it's a way to go with Creativity. Just there's no point in playing worse Zoo matchup in the Zoo meta. So I think this Jund list has a much better chance against Zoo decks, and because they have access to Persist, and also Zoo has to bring in the Graveyard Hate, and they have Life from the Loam, so you also need to bring in Graveyard Hate. You need to bring in, you need to be ready that they can do it on turn 3 with Explore, and you have to be careful about them having the Creativity, and it's really hard to play against all that, and this list being more explosive means that it's harder to play against and harder to hold to save interaction. And so here it is. As I said in my video, I think Lily of the Veil is better option than the Bitter Triumph I had in my video, but I said it in video that you should be playing Lily instead of Bitter Triumph, and the second copy instead of something else like Explore, and probably have Shielded Edicts too somewhere in the sideboard. So yeah, that is it. My opponent got Persist, and there's just nothing I could do about this. I could hold a Counterspell for a turn, but then I'm just being so slow, and they have too many cards in hand to do more value, and I would not be able to play a creature for a long time. So yeah, that was easy game for them. Let's check out game 2. Okay, I got my Subtleties out, Stubborn Denials in, Prismatic Ending also out, is because it's sorcery speed removal. I don't really need it against them. So 2 endings, 2 Subtleties out, and I got Stubborn Denials and Endurances in. Here I'm starting first, and I can go with turn 2 Territorial Kavu. Single Lightning Bolt prevents them from going for turn 4 Creativity or turn 3, so I can just safely attack for 2 turns here and get my opponent low enough. Okay, so here it is. I go with play a land, go with Kavu attack, play my second Kavu. I have a bolt for this turn, and next turn I also have a counterspell. This is just really strong. My opponent decides to shock in for 2 here, which wasn't really a good move, and that was easy game for me. just overwhelm opponent with creatures that hit hard, and that's it. Okay, so here playing second, it's a bit harder. I don't have my Kavu here, but I do have a Ragavan and Preordain and Force of Negation, so I think this is a decent start. Binding prevents them from going for creativity early, and Force of Negation is there too. Okay, so here opponent goes turn 2 for explore, and this means they can go for turn 3 creativity, which is not easy to deal with, especially if you don't have Ragavan. So usually you would be forced to play something like Kavu, Brawler or Scion on turn 2, and they would just creativity you and game would be over. Okay, so in this build I do have a Force of Negation available, and I let them resolve the Lily because I really had to save this force to fight with creativity, and I got Ragavan dashed here. Opponent finds a bolt and lets me kill their Lily, and now they play Fable. I decided that is a spell I really want to counter, and now I'm on 0 cards in my hand. In my upkeep I go for the Surveil, put land into the graveyard and find Endurance on top, which is decent top deck. It was actually really good top deck because my opponent had Life from the Loam in their hand, and Life from the Loam and Seismic Assault in their hands. So here I actually prevent them from getting back 2 lands, and this would enable them to play a blocker here with a Dwarven Mine and the Loam Dredge again next turn, which would be insane with a Seismic Assault in their hand. Here I was able to attack them for 6, put them on 5, make them do something. I think they should have gone for Dredge Loam, play Seismic Assault, kill my Endurance. That would... I had a Stubborn Denial to prevent that, but I think they could play around it by playing another Dwarven Mine first, so I would not be able to actually use the Stubborn Denial effectively there. They had a way out, but yeah. Okay, so that is it. That is the match. That is the trophy. The deck, this deck is, I played it before, I got the trophy with it, updated it a bit with the Counterspell and Expressive Iteration. Before I played the Stubborn Denial in the Counterspell slot, and I played more creatures in Expressive Iteration slot. But yeah, I kind of like that options too, but I think iteration is playable too. I didn't have iteration in my previous build, so I wanted to do one video with iteration. And since the deck, the meta is getting a bit more grindier, I think having 2 iteration is fine. It's also just a blue card that is good, and kind of a good stuff, a card that it's never really bad. It's sometimes you want to have more effective spells, but you have a good sideboard to switch them where they're not needed. And for now I'm holding the 2 iterations in for this build. I will do, as I said, sideboard guide, start working on sideboard guide from Monday, and it will be available on my dictionary profile, which you can find in the video description down below, as I already said. Okay, so thank you for watching. If you want to help channel, click like, click subscribe. Check out my dictionary profile if you want to subscribe there too. Write in the comments how do you like this build in comparison to much other similar builds cruising around. I think this is my final list. I'll be playing for a long time, and I really I think I tweaked it how I like it, and I feel like it's optimal. Having access to these great powerful green spells on the sideboard is huge. I think additional threats in Wild Nacatl and Brawler are much better than having a Murktide in the deck with so low spell count that you can barely cast it more than a 5/5 or 6/6. often, so I didn't really like that and like these options more. And yeah, of course, that is it for today. Thank you for watching and goodbye.